It would seem as though.
Hi, it's me.
Valentina.
Not her.
Not Valentina.
No.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh my god. It's the 4th of July and I don't care even a little
Boo!
bit.
Fuck this shit.
Welcome back to It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
I know. Today we are wildly unprepared.
Yeah, per usual.
Per usual. And I don't care.
No.
Because it's a holiday. It's
The dumbest holiday ever.
It's, you know, I don't understand a lot of holidays that are celebrated here in Morocco.
Morocco, yeah.
Because let's take it like Cinco de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
Most white people don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They foolishly and wrongly think that it's Mexican Independence Day.
Right.
And it's like, they also just use it as an excuse to drink.
Yeah.
Which is every holiday in America.
Yeah.
Excuse to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Like St. Patrick's Day, excuse to drink green beer.
Uh-huh.
And
we're
wear
just like,
stupid things.
we're drinking like ethnically diverse alcohol.
Right. I'm going to put green food coloring in my beer and make it Irish.
Yeah. Stupid.
Very stupid.
America.
I mean, really. You know, I was looking up the irony of Independence Day. And the first article that pops up, I was like, oh, that sounds promising. And it was why basically we're horrible because we don't remember the people that gave us the freedom that we now have.
Shut the fuck
And
up.
it's like, so we're supposed to be praising the colonizers who, you know, raped a nation and then
enslaved a
Enslaved
continent
a-
of
yeah.
people. Mm-hmm.
oh, yeah, I'm celebrating them right now. Right on this high holiday. But the ridiculousness of that to me is, I got nothing. I cannot praise a bunch of people who were horrible people, who did horrible shit.
No. And you know what? I hate that bullshit anyway. When people say, well, your freedom because of these wars, or your freedom because of these people. And I'm like the United States is the only nation with freedom. And as if the indigenous people weren't free before fucking white people showed up. I think it's so stupid. And it's just brainwashing, I want you to know. Like, yes, I know people go to war, I know people fight wars. I'm going to tell you most wars have been pointless.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are some, yes. World War II, important. But we got into it in the 11th hour. Do you know what I mean? But we fight wars over fucking oil and resources regularly. And that's about you're fighting for our freedom? Right. No, you're just using like hyperbole and like scare tactics to get American people to be dumb and sheepish, which is, congratulations. Right. Have you met Americans? We are dumb and sheepish.
Yeah, like the Civil War. Mm-hmm. That one had a very important element to it.
I know, but
most of it wasn't about the freedom of, or the ending of slavery. That was an element to it, and that was an important element.
Yeah.
But, you know, most people just think that's all. It was like Abraham Lincoln signed the Declaration of, what was it called? I'm sorry.
Proclamation of Freedom. I don't know.
Wow. We should know this.
I don't
and
want
I do
to.
usually know this, but my brain hurts today. But they think that's what it's like they wanted to secede from the nation. We should have just fucking let them.
But I will say, conversely, it pisses me off when people say, like, no, the Civil War was fought over states' rights. And I always say, states' rights to do what?
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
To own people.
Yes. Own people. That's insane to me. Doesn't make a lick of sense. And we're all like, and that was a war, right? That was a whole war. Lots of people died. There was lots of damage done. I don't feel like that's a proud thing to be proud of. And I feel like most war is something to be proud of. And I don't think that America, as it stands, and as it has stood for however long, isn't necessarily something to be proud of.
No.
You know?
No, because it was a nation started, allegedly, when the white people, the white people's version of it, is it was started when they came here for freedom of religion. But, you know, the whole idea was freedom of and freedom from religion, because they came here because they were oppressed in Europe.
In England, specifically
yes.
England, yeah.
Yeah, but then they get here And it's like, oh, wait, you don't worship the way we worship. You're a savage.
Mm-hmm.
You don't believe in our God, then you're trash. And you're going to hell because this is the one and only way. Well, how hypocritical.
Well, yes. But the whole, like, amendment, right, about religious freedom wasn't even thought of until, like, 1776, right? So this is, like, 1490. This is, like, earlier, you know, like, when Puritans came here.
Yes.
It was a different time. There was no constitution. There was no governing body, right? It was literally indigenous land that colonists made. So the colonists are different than the founding fathers. They're going to be different than people who created, like, the laws of the land, essentially.
Oh, okay.
But they came here so they could be religiously free, right? That was why. But them calling other people savages and them thinking that they were, that aligns with especially the ideology of Puritans, which are crazy to me. But yeah, it wasn't like they didn't have laws that were governing them because they were leaving their country, right? They were
right,
traitors.
but still somehow under the rule of Britain.
Right, which is silly as fuck to me.
And I wonder how does that work unless you've sent, and I guess they did. There were people who were stationed here, you know, from England who were like, you can't do that, and you got to pay us taxes, and you got to do all the things.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck off.
I know. Well, and I mean, there were how many issues were there? You know what I mean? Like the Boston Tea Party. You know what I mean? All of the things where Americans were like, no, right? Taxation without representation was the issue. That was their biggest issue. Is you want to take my money and not think of me as a person? And it's funny to me that that's one of the things, like historical moment, like taxation without representation should be fought against, or with representation is a thing that you want, right? But now you mention representation whatsoever and people say, oh, diversity, oh, you just want to put more fucking minorities on TV, right? But I'm like, one of the major tenets of the United States was you can't be taxed if you're not represented, right? That was the whole idea.
Oh, good Lord. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing now really is the only people I feel who are represented are the people who are billionaires, millionaires, whatever. The people who are buying it's like we talked about last week. The people who are buying senators and Congress people and all of that. They're the only ones who are really represented.
Yeah, honestly. And you know, who doesn't like a little cash? I get it. But, like, I can't imagine being a corrupt human just for the sake of money. Do you know what I mean? And I know that's, like, such a commonality throughout history. But it seems like, I don't know, it just seems weak-minded. And it seems kind of pathetic. Like, the only thing you care about is currency, is money, is wealth. Like, that, there's so much more to life than that, you know? But, you know, I guess when you're a white person, you have no other interests but money.
I guess. I mean, that seems to be the most important. I remember talking to one of my friends one time, and she was talking about how her husband, who's, now her ex-husband, his whole thing was always, okay, we did this thing, now what? What's next?
Right.
We accomplished this, we bought this, we reached this level of financial free, now what? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I find that kind of thinking exhausting.
Agreed.
It's like, well, we can afford the BMW. What are we going to do next?
Yeah.
How about you enjoy it?
Yeah. Also,
you've reached a level of financial independence where you can afford to do what you want to do and vacation and buy whatever.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, why does there have to be... And I guess because I'm not one of those people who thinks there's a mountain, I need to go climb it. I was like, there's a mountain, it's beautiful, I'm enjoying looking at it.
Yeah.
That's for me. But it's like, I've never been that person who's like, okay, I've accomplished goal number, 652. What's next? I have to keep going.
Bigger, better.
No. Because that's, I think, was one of the many things that's wrong with this country.
Agreed.
Is it always has to be bigger and better, and what's the next thing? And often with bigger and better, it's like, well, how do we take something away from other people?
Right. Or how do we just exploit other people? You know? Totally.
Well, because the whole thing with, people just are too lazy to work today. It's like, I'm not getting my things that I want, and so I'm inconvenienced by the fact that these people who are underpaid and treated poorly aren't just doing what they've always done.
Yep.
Well, I'm not making bajillions running my company because I can't underpay all these employees.
Yep.
That's so sad.
I know. That's my favorite thing.
I'm not feeling sorry for you because as the CEO of some huge corporation, you have to maybe look at paying people a living wage.
Right.
And treating them like humans.
And that's my favorite thing to have come from the pandemic. Because really, what else came from it other than more divisiveness? But my favorite thing is that people, especially workers, people who are considered low skill or no skill workers, or even super high skilled, there's been plenty of protests and walkouts and unionizing in the past 3 years. But I love that people are learning their worth, and they're not going to do more work for the same pay, or they're not going to be underpaid, or they're not going to be underserved by a company. Because guess what? They'll leave. And I have had, I currently work at Starbucks, but that's about to change because your girl put in her notice. But, woo girl. But I've had Starbucks managers be like, oh, well, I don't even understand. Nobody wants to work. Or how are they even paying their bills? First of all, that's none of your business. Second of all, they don't have to work if they work in an environment that's shitty to them. And why do you, just because you have maintained that and that is your norm, and you can't break that cycle, do better. Do you know what I mean? Why are you so concerned that this other person doesn't want to work?
Well, I think it's the same concern with all issues where you're worried about what the other person is doing.
Yeah.
You see someone else having freedom and you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about that many times. It's people don't want other people being too free.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want people being too proud or too free.
Yeah.
Because then, well, why can't I have that?
Right.
Because you're choosing not to.
Agreed.
Because you're choosing to believe the rhetoric that you've been taught your whole life.
Yep.
You've been choosing this, this is the only way to live because that's what you know. You're afraid to do anything different, and that's on you.
Yeah.
And I get it. It is scary.
Yeah.
Trying new and different things is scary.
Yeah.
But I can't be mad at you.
Right.
Because you're going to try this scary thing.
Yeah. Because
I'm too afraid to.
I feel that's the huge, that's the underlying tension with all the trans issues that are coming up, is that people are seeing trans people live their truth, be happy, be free, have gone through shitty experiences and still feel authentic and vulnerable and still are living who they are as a person.
Yes.
And there are people who can never do that. There are people who can't look themselves in the mirror. People can't admit their own femininity or masculinity or interests or likes or dislikes without feeling like they are that's bad and they need to kill that part of themselves.
Right.
Trans people didn't kill that part of themselves. They survived it, right?
Well, and that goes back, exactly to what you said. It's if this person who I think is a freak can look in the mirror and love what they see and be happy with their life, well, that's a travesty, and I don't like it because I'm living the normal life and I'm not happy.
No.
So how dare you be happy?
I know, well, and that's right. That's the thing, America, about pull yourself up by your bootstraps, freedom, capitalism, all of that. But how do you feel about this? Do you feel good? Do you feel happy as a person? Or are you just going through these motions of what we have learned from generation to generation, considering that to be the regular way to operate? And it's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
No.
It's been about exploitation and taking, and the higher ups, the change makers, the policy makers, it's for them to not feel inconvenienced by you. And when you start to demand a fair wage, demand healthcare, demand education, demand rights, then you are now inconveniencing them. And so it's weird to me that we tout this whole thing of melting pot, freedom, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But girl, some people don't even own boots, bitch. How the fuck do you pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you've been running barefoot your whole life? Do you know what I mean?
I do, absolutely. It's one of the things that is the irony, one of the ironies about the, Independence Day, is that in the Declaration of Independence it declared that all men are created equal, endowed with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that didn't apply to Black or Native Americans or women or queer people. It really was, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all cis, white, heterosexual, upper-class men are created equal.
Yeah.
The rest of you, fuck off.
Well, the others weren't men, right? Because Black people were not men.
Right. They weren't, right.
Native Americans were savages, right? So
right.
And
yes,
women
if you put them all in these
yeah.
other categories
Yep.
where they're not of your ilk, then it's like, well, I don't feel bad about you not getting your rights because you're not up there with me.
Right. Well, and that's what's taught. Like, that's what in school, in college specifically, that's one thing that is taught when talking about race and ethnic relations or any sort of marginalization, is that even though, or women's studies, because we talk about that a lot regarding all men are created equal, that didn't include women. That's why women had to fight for suffrage, right? But it's because these other people, women, natives, Africans, were not considered people. They weren't considered even to be
they were
named.
considered property.
Yeah.
Or savages.
Or
like
just
you
less
said.
than, yeah.
Yeah, less than. And so they don't fit into that category of all men are created equal.
Yeah. So we read it through like modern 21st century eyes, and we're like, so why was there slavery? Why were Native people pushed to reservations? Why were women denied all of these, rights that men had? But it's because we're looking at it through more of like a lens of equality, and that didn't exist. Equality was not a thing.
Right. Well, considering women couldn't own property.
Right.
So like if they were the only child and their father died and had, an estate, they could not inherit it. And it's like, so they had to marry some fool so that he could inherit her father's wealth and hopefully share it with her. It's such bullshit. But it's like, that's how it was, and people just accepted that. And I think goes through to, that's the through line to today and all this shit that people have always just accepted whatever the line is that we've been fed all our lives. It's like you're born, you have your 18 or so years at home being raised by your parents, then you go to college, then you have a job and you work until you're retired and then you're dead. It's like, what the fuck? Where is the joy in life? And if you're lucky, you make enough money that you can afford vacations. If you have a job that even gives you vacations. If not, you work 2 or 3 jobs to try and earn enough money. And so you just never have time for life.
No.
But that's the line that we're all supposed to toe, that we just have accepted forever. And now people are going, hang on. So I'm not supposed to experience any joy in my life because I'm supposed to meet some criteria that I never signed up for. But it's like, I don't have a choice. I have to make this amount of money. I have to do this job. I have to. And one of the things, I remember one of my clients said to me one day, we were talking about college. And he said, and this was kind of really mind-altering to me, or like really altered my thought process, was college is not the path for everyone. Even though we say it is. Even though we tell all kids, you graduate high school, you go to college. Now, for me, that was not even talked about as a path. Because growing up poor, it was the only thing that was pushed for me was graduating high school. You graduate high school, that's like the be-all, end-all, well, then what? It was. there was no talk of, the other important things like, don't allow someone to treat you poorly. Don't settle for less. Don't do it. It was like you graduate high school and then you've accomplished whatever. Well, that's setting the bar fairly low. But I know that I have said to my children, go to college, don't go to college, but do something you love. Do something that makes you happy. And if you can do that without going to college, awesome. If what you really want to do and requires you to go to college, awesome. We'll figure out a way to do that. But my biggest thing, and I wish that kind of all parents just figured this out, I want my children to be happy. I mean, I want them also to be... Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, I heard her on an interview one day saying, because in her time, it was unusual to be raised not of the church. And her father did not raise any of her family in church. And she said that his goal was to make sure that his children were all good citizens of the world. That's it. Be kind to other people. Treat the world as, gently as you can. But be good to other people. Be a good person. That was his thing. No, don't worry about God or the nonsense in the Bible. Be a good human being. And if you can do that, then I've succeeded as a parent by putting those values in you. And that's kind of where I've gone from there. Is like, I want my children to be good people. You know, I mean, I failed miserably with you,
I
but
know,
I still
girl.
got hope with the other two.
She's horrible. Do you? Have you met your children?
They're young.
They're both assholes. You know what I mean?
They kind of are.
They're both shit-talking assholes. That's what they are.
Oh my god. And now that they've been given their permission to curse.
Uh-huh. Oh, I love it.
They'll just be saying random things. I think they say it more to test out, like, I'm going to say this word now.
Yeah, because they'll say it and then look at me. And I'm like, congratulations.
Are you waiting for the shock value to
I
kick
know.
in?
Girl,
I'm
I
not
don't care.
shocked.
I don't care.
I know, it's fun.
What? I don't care.
No. I don't care even a little bit. My whole thought about that is just don't do it where it's inappropriate. Don't curse at school because you'll get in trouble.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just because you'll get in trouble.
Right, sure.
I don't care.
Going back to what we were talking about, and not your children.
Right.
Right. You know, this idea of, like, you need to, like you said, you're born, you live at home, you graduate, you go to college, you get a job, you retire, you die. Well, and that all has to do, and think about it, it's not just, like, what America stands for, but it's also just, like, the governing system that we have, right? Like, capitalism, which I know this is going to sound radical to everybody, but it isn't. First of all, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and it doesn't benefit anybody. It benefits the rich. It benefits the top maybe 5%, right? That is who it benefits. But when you commodify natural resources of the world, or when you commodify people, then your system is broken. Because when you choose to make sure that people are making you more money without caring about whether that person is healthy, or whether they have a livable wage, or they have a house, or they can eat food, that system should be abolished. I don't think that anything that we need to survive should be in a system that is paid for. I don't think we should have to pay for water. I don't think we should have to pay for food. I don't think we should have to pay for electricity or housing, because I think that shit is bonkers. Without that shit, we would die. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Without that shit, our life would be much worse. But to be very clear, nobody asked to be born. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Noisy.
Nobody asked.
This is our special ASMR
Yeah.
episode. We're just making random noise.
But nobody asked to be here. And I know that sounds like dark, whatever, thanks God or whatever. But, like, it is true. We were just born onto a planet and now into a system that doesn't see us as individuals, but see us as chattel. You know what I mean? And so I think that if you have to fight and you have to pay exorbitant amounts of money for resources that are necessary for your survival, then that system should be abolished, because that doesn't make sense. Why is there houseless people? Because we are forcing people to pay for things that they need.
Well, and there is no limit to what people have to pay. Like, housing here is so out of control.
Yes.
And it keeps going up every year. And so they had to make a law saying you're only allowed to raise rent X percentage a year. So you can still raise it every year. That's fine. And it can already be exorbitant to start with.
Yeah.
Because they don't need to rent from you. What I don't understand is how anybody's ever expected to be independent. Because young people today can't afford to live on their own.
No.
A lot of many young people don't leave home because they can't afford to.
Or they leave home and come back.
Yes,
all those things are very common now. Yep.
Yes, exactly. Because you look at rent. I mean, it's like, okay, my house, as time has gone on, as interest rates and different things, the payment of my house in the last, since Parker was born, he's now 12, it has gone up $1,000.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and it's like because of taxes, because of all the the escrow shit, because our interest rate is low, so the payment is still low.
Yeah,
but every year our taxes go up. Our taxes went up exponentially this year,
right?
And I'm like, what the actual fuck? But they're going to go up again next year and the next year and the next. But the value of our house actually dropped because the market and everything is like getting ready to burst again. Because as you like, interest rates are so high right now that people can't afford a house. People can't afford a loan. And if you can, it's because you're wealthy and you probably don't need that kind of a loan.
Right.
So it's just all of the systems are fucked up. Our water bill, for example, we're billed every 3 months. It's about $700 for 3 months worth. It's water.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just crazy to me. And I think about, like, before white people came here. I think about how indigenous people lived. They didn't pay for housing. They built it themselves. They didn't pay for water. They hauled it from the river or whatever.
Or created systems.
Or created, yes,
but
exactly.
Were, like, communally beneficial.
Yes, exactly. They didn't go, okay, I have more water than you, so I'm going to make you give me whatever you trade.
You die of dehydration, and I'll be hydrated.
Well, it's not really my concern.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other big part of it, is like, I think it's Nestle that is like trying to make it so water is all commodified, like fresh water, waterways and stuff. They're like, water is not a freedom. It's water. It's a natural thing. Of course it should be.
Agreed.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But that happens when, and it often happens when it's, countries with a higher GDP, so countries that make more money, go and commodify natural resources of like the global south, or what people would consider like developing nations or third world nations, is when they're like, oh, well, I bought this section of the rainforest. Like you bought the forest. And so they can do it.
And bought it from whom?
Exactly.
How is it for sale?
Right. But yeah, that is insane to me. And I've kind of always thought that, because I just don't understand the idea of charging people to live. It's weird. It is weird to me. And there are places that don't do that. Do you mean there are many developed free nations, because I have to say that because Americans are like, we're the only country with freedom, fucking idiots. But they're developed free nations with socialized healthcare, socialized education. They have like literally everything they need. Nothing is like exorbitant. They have like 32-hour work weeks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I think about specifically, as it's an example, I know your friend Bassie, who lives in Amsterdam.
Yes.
And because he is citizen, he gets to go to college free. Because everyone there goes to college free.
Yeah.
I, as you know, and as all of you who are listening know, I'm on the board of directors for a scholarship that I get to see what children are trying to pay to go to college, and it makes me just sick. It's like, so for 1 year of college, with books, housing, and tuition, $70,000. Who even makes that?
Yeah.
You won't make that money in however many years after college.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to graduate college and become CEO of something, which isn't very likely.
No.
It's going to take you the rest of your natural fucking life to pay that back.
Yeah.
So you're starting out life in such debt. I have friends who are school teachers who've been teachers for more than 20 years who are still paying back their student loans.
I hate it.
It's gross.
I hate it.
It should not be.
No.
I mean...
Christ, no.
There should be, instead of us spending all of this money on shit we don't need, in the government, put it towards education. If education is something we prize, which it clearly is, then let's put something towards it.
We only want people
yes and no, right?
We only want people to be educated if, quote, they qualify, or two, they have the money to do so, right? And that's weird to me, because if this is, if we're in a country together, we're all in this together, right? Don't you want your fellow Americans to be educated? Don't you want them to be smart? Don't you want them to be the top in their field? You know what I mean? Don't you want educated, smart, well-to-do people that could be everybody? Because, like, what happens when, let's say, hypothetically, there's a war on our turf? Then what happens? You're still, those conservative, alt-right fucking evangelicals are still against queer people and black people and marginalized people while someone else is killing us? Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're against it, but if they need us...
Right.
That's different.
And so
because it's just like in World War II,
right?
When all of a sudden they were like, oh gosh, we need all these black soldiers. We are still treating them like garbage, and we're not giving them the rights that they are theirs. And I love that too. We're giving them rights. They're rights. They're not privileges. You can give privileges. Like, I'm going to give you the privilege of having a piece of pie when we're done here because I made the pie. It's my pie. Here's the privilege of you get to have some. But it's like, I'm going to give you the things that should be yours.
Right.
Like the right to breathe. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense to me. But even though we treat you like garbage, now we're in trouble. So we expect you to bail us out.
I know. And I want you to know that is the crazy thing, though. But it is true. Like, I'm going to use suffrage, like women's suffrage as an example, is women did not give other women the right to vote. It wasn't them.
No.
It was men. Men gave them the right to vote, right? Because women protested and rioted, and there were, like, domestic terrorists who were, bombing shit, which is precious to me. Do it. I don't fucking care. But women fought real hard, but men just got so sick of hearing women bitch about it that they eventually just gave women the right to vote. So women, yes, had a part to play in their organizing. Obviously, they had a huge part of it. They're the ones who did it.
Yes.
But men could have said no this whole time. Do you know what I mean? And so it's the people in power who give you that.
It's the same thing with when black people were given the vote. Well, it's interesting because they were given the vote shortly after slavery.
With like the 15th Amendment. Yeah.
And then it was taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, well, you kind of can vote if you can risk your life to get to the polling place, and hopefully no one kills you on the way there. And if you can pass this ridiculous test,
like a literacy test.
If you do all that, then we'll let you vote.
Yep.
But it wasn't until President Johnson was looking like a real schmuck because all these black people who were protesting were getting hurt and killed and whatever. It's like, we're going to keep protesting. We're going to keep making all you white people look like trash because we're just trying to walk across a bridge for a peaceful march, and you're turning hoses on us and being beaten by, state troopers and shit. So that makes you look bad. And then he finally said, well, because he tried to just be like, can you just wait a little while longer and then we'll work? No. Mm-mm. And when they said, no, we fucking can't. He was like, oh, well, it's making me look bad. I better do something. I'm going to sign this piece of paper saying that you have the right to something that should have been yours all along. Because I have that power.
I know.
It is. It is such colossal bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too much. And I think if we bring it to like now, again, 21st century, what's happening in our daily life, the shit that just happened with like the Supreme Court, like 5 days prior to the 4th of July, on the last day of Pride Month, with all the shit they did with like the reversing of affirmative action and making it legal to discriminate against queer people, and of course how they word it is not necessarily what it means, but that's what it means. You can discriminate against queer people.
Yeah.
It's
if it's a deeply held religious belief of yours.
Whack.
Wait, so my beliefs are more important than your rights?
Yeah.
So what if I'm just happen to be in power, but I'm some cuckoo asshat who believes that all people with green eyes should be killed?
Oh, well, thanks.
Well, or whatever. If you're some nonsense because some Christian baker somewhere doesn't want to make you a cake.
Do you know it was all bullshit?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing really is all bullshit. Well, this particular one that was the undoing of all of this was some woman who makes websites was like, well, I don't want to make a wedding website for gay people because it's against my religion, and so I shouldn't have to. Nobody tried to force her to.
Nobody asked her to.
Nobody even asked her to.
No.
But she went to court and said, well, but if I say no, then someone could sue me, so I'm going to sue you so that I don't have to ever get sued. What?
Yeah, isn't that so dumb? And she claims that a homosexual man and wanted a website made for he and his husband. And the man that she's claiming said it he's like, I never talked to her. I'm a straight man married to a woman, and I'm also a website designer. Like, why would I ever ask this trash human to do that for me? And I'm not a queer person. And so it was literally, all of it was bullshit.
Yeah, it was all bullshit.
So the whack ass, and it's not even the Supreme Court, girl. This is like the dollar menu court. Do you know what I mean? Like, but the dollar menu court would fucking help people, you know what I'm saying? Because the dollar menu feeds people at least.
Right.
But like,
there's that.
The Supreme Court is just like, oh, wait, they're going to make you sacrifice your values as a deep Christian woman because their queerness. Like, none of that happened, and that's not how that works.
No. And, not that I'm encouraging people to be exclusionary, but here's my thought. I have a business. If I don't want to do your hair, I'm just going to say, oh gosh, you know what? I'm all booked up.
Yeah. Right.
I don't want to do your hair because I don't like you.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to do your hair, although might.
Yeah.
But I don't do gay people's hair, or I don't do this group of people. It was like, gosh, I'm so booked. I'm so sorry. But here's the number of someone who can do your hair.
Yeah.
I will do that if it's something like I don't want to do or I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
Because there are people who will come to me and say, can you do extensions? No, I cannot. I've never learned how. I should. I would have probably made a lot more money.
Oh, you would have, Aunt Marty.
Yeah. Oh.
I know.
But, or if it's something I just plain don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, someone will come to me and be like, I want this crazy color that's going to probably take me 6 hours and I can't possibly charge them enough money to make it worth my time. That is not my specialty, but I do know someone who, and then when they go to them and they say, well, that's going to be $350, and they go,
yeah.
Well, that was someone else. I didn't have to worry about it.
Sorry.
But, and again, not that I'm trying to encourage people, but just say, I don't have the time.
Yeah. And also, can you not just, like, do you not, like, reserve the right to, like, not do work for somebody?
Yeah.
Is that just not a thing you have? Unless you say, I'm not going to do it because you're queer. Yeah, that's where it's discriminatory, you dumb bitch. You could also just say, no, I don't want to. I don't like you as a person.
You're a trash human being, so I don't want to do it.
I don't like the way you look.
Yeah, and so, as with almost everything now, it is so ambiguous, the wording to this, that they're like, well, we're not saying that you can exclude all, or you can't, but we're not saying you can't either. And because I read through the stuff and it's like so confusing, but it leaves everything so vague that it's like, well, maybe.
Yep. But I love it. I've seen a lot on social media, like gay bars and shit being like, oh, well then we are no longer having bridal parties here, like, bachelorette parties. We're no longer serving straight people here, like... Oh, well,
why not?
You want to do it that way, bitch. We'll do it this way.
Well, and that's, I'm going to tell you as someone who worked in a bar for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Bachelorette parties are the fucking worst.
Just in general.
They are the worst.
Yeah.
Because those girls will come into a bar, and I'm talking to all y'all. I am not making this a blanket statement because it doesn't deserve to be. It fucking does. If you come to a queer bar with your straight party, and you're all drunk to start with, and then you get there and you try to take over the place, that you don't belong there. No. That is not your space. So if you're going to come to someone else's space, act right. That would be like me coming to your house and then just going, what's in there, and opening your fridge and start pulling out the food and going, I'm going to fix myself a snack, unless you specifically said, you're welcome to anything in my fridge. And even if you had, I would still say, hey, I'm super hungry. Would you mind if I grab myself a little piece of cheese out of your fridge? Yeah. I still wouldn't just do it.
No.
You don't walk into other people's spaces and take over and act like I have the right to rule it, which is what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear it's like, well, gay people, but we're good for a party. You want to go to a queer bar when you're having a party and you think that drag queens are super fun and funny and whatever and they'll entertain you. But it's like, only if you can be the center of attention. Yeah. Only if we can make this all about you. And fuck all the rest of the people in the crowd who paid to be in there as well. Yeah. And I know that's not where this started, but that's just, that is the kind of thing that just used to chat my ass.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because these bitches would come in and there would be like, any number of people wearing their little stupid penis hats and, whatever. And, and it's like, it's all about me. It's my big day.
I know.
It's like fuck off.
Down.
Fuck completely off. None of us care.
Go take your meds.
And at that point, when I was working there, it was still not legal for gay people to marry. But you're coming in and flaunting your straight marriage. And you were probably one of the bitches who voted against gay marriage.
You fucking whore. Get out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I realized that was not where that tangent was meant to go, but I went there anyway.
Yes, you did.
Because tangents are what?
Topics.
Yeah. Speaking of queer bars, I just want to touch on this for just a second. So there was a lesbian bar in Texas. By the way, the only one. Because lesbian bars are like unicorns now. You can't find them.
Weird.
And they used to be like several per city, big city, and now, nope. So this lesbian bar in Texas, the owner was told that they could not have, she went to renew her insurance, they denied her insurance because she hosts drag shows there.
What?
Yeah. They said, because it's a queer bar where they host drag shows, it could not be insured because so many laws are being passed against drag shows. And whatever, it's like, she doesn't have children in her bar.
Yeah.
You have to be 21 to go to the bar.
Still have to be an adult. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, so there's literally, like I said, in the state of Texas, which is bigger than I think most of the states put together, one lesbian bar and you're going to be trying to shut them down by not giving them insurance?
Yeah.
Because, there's laws in the state for anti-drag shit. It's such bullshit.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to, well, but I don't want you to do this thing, so you shouldn't have any freedom.
Right.
You shouldn't be allowed to make a living because I don't like how you're making it.
Yep.
Well, unless I'm making it by coming into your house, stealing your shit and selling it, you shouldn't care how I'm making my living.
No, ma'am.
Unless I'm stealing children and selling them or doing something that is harming other people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, well, I don't like that drag queens exist. Well, that's your problem.
Yeah.
They've existed all through time.
Congratulations.
Yeah. They've existed since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
They weren't always called drag queens, no. They didn't always organize to do a show or to go out and do Pride or whatever, but men dressing as women and women dressing as men has happened throughout eternity, forever, as long as there's been life on Earth.
Yeah.
So
those little amoebas coming from that water, bitch, were just pulling
said,
wigs.
Girl, wait, I'm supposed to be what? Nope.
Death dropping.
I'm going to grab up some seaweed and put on some,
make
myself a wig.
Yes, queen. Yep.
Well, it can happen.
But you know what offends me? Child beauty pageants.
Oh, they're gross.
That is sexualizing a child.
So we're going to sexualize a little child and be okay with that because that's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to show it on TV so we're not only making money on these little children at the local level, but then we're putting it on television so that some big corporations are making money on it. And you're putting those little girls in wigs and false teeth.
Full face of makeup.
Little sequin dresses, and you're making them strut around like grown women. Like Hooters waitresses.
Or bikinis.
Yeah,
girls.
gross.
Well, and you know what's so funny to me is like, oh, drag shows are not appropriate for children. Yeah, families take their children to Hooters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and let's talk about even football games. Cheerleaders at football games?
They're practically naked.
Yeah.
Doing suggestive dancing.
And guess what? I personally don't care.
No, me either.
I mean, who gives a shit? But if you're one of those people who's like, I will take my children to Hooters. I will take my children to the Dallas Cowboys game to see the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Gyrating.
But I don't want them to see a man in a wig. That'll pervert them.
Bitch. It will. It'll ruin their lives.
It will
turn them queer.
You know what it might do is it might make them go, oh
my God.
I could do that?
Wait.
I could do this thing that would probably make me very happy. Oh my God, my family would hate that.
I know, honestly.
So it might ruin your life, but it might enhance your child's life.
I know.
It also might ruin your life because your children are going to now ask you some questions.
Yeah. I'm excited though for this whole generation of awful fucking ignorant parents being like, wow, queer people, not around my children or whatever. I can't wait until their children become adults and come out as queer and then never speak to them again.
You know, I was listening to our podcast from last week.
Oh yeah.
And you said something very similar. And as I was listening to it, I thought, in the same instance, like that, it's very, very harsh. It's very appropriate.
Yeah.
Because I think if you treat your children like trash, you treat your children like they don't have rights to be who they are. You treat them like their happiness is only contingent on if you approve of it. You don't deserve to be a parent.
Well, no, and the way that you treat other people and marginalized people and people different than yourself around your children and teach your children that, and if your children is a person who is going to be queer or whatever, or marry someone who's black, or, be a diverse human being, then you deserve pain. You deserve for them to not love you.
Diversity is just one of those left-wing talking points that's just there to confuse people.
I know it is. And it's so crazy to me.
You're just woke and that's bad.
It's so crazy to me that people, and it's mostly conservative evangelical groups talking about how, like, this diversity and equity and inclusion is toxic. And I'm like, what? Like,
well, right, because if you're forcing my children to be accepting of your children, horrible. Because I've been teaching them their whole life that if you're not like me, if you're not white, straight, Christian, and let's just say it, middle class at least, if you're not those things, you're trash.
Yeah.
And we don't have to like you, deal with you, talk to you, whatever.
Yeah.
Or respect you, for that matter. Because if you're poor, or if you're houseless, or if you're whatever, if you have mental illness or you're whatever, any kind of divergence in any way from what the American dream is, then we don't have to.
Well, right, and they're like, oh, so no diversity, no inclusion, and it's just ruining our children. But then in the same fucking breath, be like, I love Jesus. Jesus who fucking flipped tables, and Jesus who hung out with, like, sex workers and lepers and fucking homeless people.
Yeah.
You're gonna equate those? bitch, I hope Jesus fucking strikes you down with a goddamn lightning bolt, because Jesus is now Zeus. But I hope, bitch, like, how dare you? You know?
How badass would it be, though, if Jesus was Zeus?
Just buff Jesus with, like, a
Buff
fucking
Jesus,
Rambo
right.
headband,
Yeah.
just lightning bolts. I know.
I would love that.
I would. You know what? And so, like, Jesus is not the problem, but it's all of you people who are like, oh, we hate everybody, and then tout that you love and believe and are a Christian. You are,
No.
bitch, I'm a better Christian than you, and I don't believe in Christianity. I don't believe in God,
Right.
bitch.
But, yes, absolutely. I saw this guy, and I'm sure you've seen him. He's been all over the interwebs. A man who was at, I think it was Denver Pride, and he was sitting along the sidelines with a big cardboard sign that said, I used to be a recovering bigot, and then free hugs or something.
I'm
like
so
that.
sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And because I watched a little clip about him on the news, and it was saying how specifically he was raised in the church, and so he believed all the rhetoric of the church, and then he decided after his children kept going, dude, you're a bigot.
Yeah.
You need to figure this out. He decided, well, maybe I should figure this out, and he went and read the Bible and found out that Jesus never said anything about homosexuality.
Huh.
What Jesus kept saying over and over and over and over is that you're supposed to love each other.
Mm-hmm. Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor.
But what if they're gay?
Then
I said
don't
what I
love
said.
them. If
I
they're
said what I
gay,
said.
if they're brown, if they're poor, if they're a different
Which is funny
religion
because
than
wasn't
you,
Jesus
boo, boo.
gay, brown, and poor?
I don't know that he was gay.
Do we know much?
Well, I don't know. I'm
We
not
know
saying
that he was
wasn't.
brown and poor, girl.
He was brown and he was poor.
probably a homosexual.
And he wore long hair and dressed in sandals. So I don't know.
Girl.
I don't know.
He was making them eat it back then. You know what I mean?
I
His
know.
dress and his...
As he's walking through the sand, looking all fly. And
Flipping his hair.
Walking on his legs.
Yeah.
Flipping his hair. Yes. You know, that's just it, too. Is, if any of those people
Yeah.
saw Jesus today, they would be like, go back to your country.
Uh-huh.
Go back to where you came from.
Or cops
Speak
would shoot
American.
him.
Yeah.
Or... Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, you want to do what? You want to feed the homeless? I saw a story the other day of this woman who had been ticketed, I don't even know how many times by that point, but she was ticketed almost daily for feeding the homeless.
Crazy.
Now, there are horrible fucking things going on in the world, and this woman goes out, and she's with an organization where they go out and feed the houseless
Yeah.
on the regular. It's like 3 times a week. She'll go out and see, in her city, see the need, and be like, okay, so today I served 50 people lunches.
Yeah.
And so she gives them these little kits with some food for then and some extra things that'll last longer so they're not going to spoil.
Yeah.
She's ticketed by the police because in their city, some religious white person on the right has said, well, that just encourages them to be homeless, and then they're causing trouble in this area, and then they're ruining businesses. And
Wow, you sound like a real believer of Jesus.
and it's like, so even though Jesus in the Bible specifically said, shoe those with no shoes, feed those with no food, house those with no home, it actually says those things in the Bible.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say, but spit the queers out to the court. We don't want them out there. Whatever. But we get to cherry pick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But Jesus said to house the homeless.
Yeah.
He didn't say,
Yell at them.
let them die, steal their shit.
Create legislation to keep them poor. Yeah. And then
Right. And I have noticed lately, I seem to be seeing more and more people who clearly have some mental illness.
Yeah.
Or are struggling, at least in that. And I'm like, and this will not get better because we're doing nothing to address that.
Yeah.
Mental health stuff is not important.
Yeah.
Because that's just something we made up as a generation.
Yep.
You
All these newfangled terms. That shit didn't exist when I was younger. No, it did. It absolutely did.
Just like drag queens existed, trans people existed,
Yep.
queer people of all varieties existed when you were young. But as we mentioned last week, they didn't have any support system to be able to come out safely.
No.
Or to even know what they wanted.
No, and
because
it
it was
all these terms. No, we created language for people who've always existed because instead you would have just exiled them or murdered them. So, talk shit, bitch, but we weren't actively harming people by creating space for them, you fucking psychopath.
Right. Speaking of which, I know we have talked quite a bit about Dylan Mulvaney. And one of the things, I was just reading one of her things the other day. Because if you don't remember, she's the young trans woman who started documenting her journey of transition on TikTok. And it started on day one.
And she would say, like, day one of being a woman. Yeah. And then she went through the whole year.
And then she went through the whole year. And then she would talk about how she felt or how she looked or how the way she looked that day made her feel or whatever. And then Budweiser said, hey, we want to do this thing with you so you can support March Madness and blah, blah, blah. And so they sent her a beer can with her image on it.
Yep.
And asked her to just do this little promotion. Well, and then people freaked out, lost their full minds. You know, people are shooting up the cans of Bud and doing the thing. It's like, or they're dumping them in the sink, or they're doing whatever. Well, good. Who cares if you dump them in the sink? You already paid for them.
Yeah, congrats.
But the worst part to me is that hundreds of thousands of people are writing to this woman and telling her to kill herself. And making her afraid to leave her home. Yeah. And making her feel like no matter what she does at this point, she's going to die.
Yeah.
But what she was talking about in the thing I watched the other day is that Bud Light and... Isn't it Anheuser-Busch? Bud Light, yeah. They have not reached out to her. They've not said word one to her. They've not said anything. Even in the media, they have not supported her one bit. And they're like, well, we have, you know, all these equity and inclusion programs through everything, blah, blah, blah. But yet have not reached out to her while she has felt that her life was in danger. Because it is.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, how Christian is it that you are telling this young lady to go kill herself? And you can't... Well, the thing that really I can't even wrap my head around is why you fucking care. Why do you care that this woman had her image on a Bud Light? Jealous?
On one can.
On one can. It wasn't like she was on all of their marketing. On every can that you had to take home and go, when there are people like, who's this girl? That's not a girl, that's her.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the other thing, is they refuse to refer to her as her proper pronouns. You know, because that somehow takes away from you being a woman to refer to this young lady as she. Because you're so fucking narrow-minded and so fucking set in your ways that you're just like, I can't deal with change.
You know what I hope, though, is no matter how much stress, like, marginalized people are under, I think that people who are bigots and racist and ignorant like that are under more stress. You know what I mean? Because they can't live in a world where diverse people can exist and not have something to say about it. And I feel like, girl, you're going to die of hypertension or an aneurysm or a heart attack. And guess what?
Yeah.
I am bitter. And also, I don't give a fuck. This is how I feel.
Hang on. I am so glad I was seated for that information.
You're welcome. But this is how I feel. If you want to be an ignorant fucking dumb bitch who thinks that every person who is different from you doesn't belong, shouldn't be in this country, shouldn't be around children, shouldn't X, Y, and Z, then I hope you die sad and alone in a burning building. Like, I don't give a fuck. Right. And I don't care if that's mean. I don't care if that's harsh. I don't care if that's negative. I don't care. Because... I
hope you don't care if that's negative.
Because here's the thing, bitch. You create so much trauma and so much hate and divisiveness towards other fucking people. And for what? So you can feel comfortable? How about you grow the fuck up, grandma?
Well, so they can feel superior.
Right. But, like, maybe you just sit in the fact that you're uncomfortable and maybe do some, I don't know, look inside. Think, why do I feel so uncomfortable about this? Why does this make me feel so shitty? Because this is not going to change. Progress is never going to stop happening. People are not going to stop being diverse people. So for you to say ignorant fucking things and have stupid, stale, antiquated beliefs is on you. And the fact that you can't learn and grow and become a better, more realized version of yourself is pathetic. And you're dumb. And I don't give a fuck how you feel about that. I don't give a fuck what happens to you. And I know that's like the same thing they say about queer people, but queer people aren't actively harming a single fucking person.
No.
But all these white, Christian, alt-right fucking evangelicals are actively creating legislation that takes rights away from people or make sure that or ensures that queer people can be discriminated against. So I don't care how other people feel about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Die in a fire. That's how I feel about it.
Sure.
You know.
Well, you know, the fact of the matter is that these are the same people who want to keep everything the same, wanted everything to be the same kind of social mores as it was in the 50s.
Mm.
And that's where they want to go back to. They want to go back to that time, but at the same time, they want their rights. So all these women want their rights. Well, if you want to go back to the 50s, you aren't going to have your rights.
Girl, you're not going to have those credit cards you love so much.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. And you don't get to own a house.
Yeah.
You don't get to go out and have this big, high-paying job.
No.
So change has been good for you as well, no matter how much you want to think that it hasn't.
Yeah.
Because with change and progress...
Because what, women, you're going to go to school to be a secretary and learn shorthand? Like, that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life?
You can be a librarian. You can be a school teacher.
Listen, I would be a librarian. I love that.
See, that's different.
Yeah.
But if that's your only choice?
No.
You know, it's like librarian, school teacher, secretary, housemaker, homemaker, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are your choices. And if you... By the way, if you don't get married by the time you're a 25-year-old maid, if you don't have children, there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, these have changed for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and change... Though it seems to have left you behind, and maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this whole bright new world, and you're not a part of it.
Yeah.
Because you are so stuck in whatever your shit was that you're just like feeling some kind of way about it.
Yeah,
and
girl.
too bad for you.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself.
You know, progress for progress' sake. No, but progress that has been getting the world changing and moving and going in a direction where everybody can have a better job. Everybody can have a better life.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Agreed.
But it's not moving that way now. You know, it's like everybody doesn't have an opportunity for a better life.
No.
Because it's like rich people have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And, you know, while we have 4 minutes left, I want to tell you our topic for the day. I'm just kidding. While we have 4 minutes left, I do want to talk about that whole thing of, in the same week that those billionaires went in a little submersible and died, 700 people, 700 immigrants went down off the coast of Greece, and most of them died. They found 100 and some people alive. So, more than 500 people died.
Yeah.
And did we hear about that on the news?
No.
For a second.
Yeah.
For a hot second. Because, well, it was more important that 4 billionaires
Yep.
who chose to go on this very dangerous little adventure died.
Yep.
But who gives a fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then people were all up in their feelings about the fact that the stepson of one of the billionaires had gone to a concert.
Yeah, I don't care.
When his stepfather was missing.
I don't care.
What was he supposed to do? Swim down the bottom of the ocean, see if he could find him?
Bitch, let me tell you something. If my stepmother went missing, I would have a fucking party. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I
first of all, for her to get to the bottom of the ocean, you just have to put her in like a bucket, a barrel.
She could
fill
just
it
be
with rocks.
missing. I wouldn't care where. That's
But what gets me is more than 500 people die.
Mm-hmm. But billionaires are more
But
important.
4 fucking billionaires die in a submersible that they chose to go in to go have fun.
Oh, and they signed agreements. Like, they signed these disclosures being like, you can die. And guess what? They died.
They did.
Like,
but the whole world was like, oh my god, these poor guys, they're at the bottom of the ocean.
I don't care.
Who the fuck cares? They chose to go to the bottom of the ocean knowing what the thing, and it wasn't like it was going to be changing the world.
No.
It wasn't like it was improving anything in science. It wasn't anything. It was like these asshats were like, I paid $1 million to go to space with Elon Musk. Fuck you, who cares?
You know what you could do? Solve world hunger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could do something real.
I'm sorry, but if you're a billionaire, then you could easily give away a huge chunk of your money and still be richer than most people in the world.
Yeah.
You could do something to feed the hungry and the houseless and do whatever. But I'd rather go to the bottom of the ocean. Well, enjoy your watery grave.
Then die.
You know?
Yeah. I know. I get it. I'm with you 100%.
But the biggest part for me really was the fact that news stations around the country, all they could talk about were these rich people. I was way more concerned by the fact that 500 or plus people who were just trying to go somewhere to have a better life are now dead. Yeah,
I know.
But they were poor, so why do we care about that?
Yeah, I don't. Why would I ever?
Poor people, wherever they're going to go.
Honestly,
they were just going to make somebody else uncomfortable by trying to figure out where they should
by
be.
existing somewhere else.
Right.
Gross.
Ugh.
I know.
Just the whole idea of it just makes me crazy.
Yep.
But speaking of poor people, now that you quit your job, no, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, okay, let's talk about that. I put my notice in. My last day is the 13th. But I don't work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So my last day is technically next Monday, which is hip, hip, hooray, girl. And there's a lot of reasons why I decided to quit, because it's just been a lot. I transferred to the mall. It's been overwhelming. There's been zero support. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I've been at Starbucks for about 5 years this time. And so I'm just deciding to pay for my last semester of school, which is just 2 classes. And I've just been looking at jobs. And and a lot of jobs, you know, now that I'm going to be credentialed, there's a lot that I do qualify for. So I thought, why not just get a head start on this, you know? But job searching is exhausting. I want you to know.
Absolutely.
It's like not my favorite thing to do, which is super fun. But so if you guys want to hire me just to be like great at life, I have 2 degrees and published research. So hire me.
Well, I want to just tell you that the other day when you came over to just tell us that you actually officially put in your notice.
Yeah.
Your whole spirit was so much lighter and brighter that I was like, thank God. I'm glad you listened to your mama and your auntie and your boyfriend and there and said, yeah, I can
enough
do this.
Is enough.
Enough is enough. And Uncle James, thank you for, you know, because really, and I told him when I saw him the other day, that him just saying to you the phrase, you've been burning your candle at both ends for so long, now of course you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And it's time to do something about that. And so she has done something about that.
Yeah.
So now she's going to take life a tiny bit easier.
Yeah.
And do just one job.
Yeah.
And school.
Yeah. And I'll be done before December.
Yeah.
And then I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So hire me. Oh my God, hire me.
All right. Well, before she begs for a job anymore.
Hire me.
We're going to get the fuck up out of here.
Yeah.
Before anybody else. We've been interrupted so many times today.
Girl.
That's the problem with being in this very fancy studio that we're in. Just anybody can walk right through.
Yeah.
All the billionaires walking through to get to their offices.
Girl,
you know,
I know.
All the things.
Keep it down, Bezos. That's
I know.
us. Yeah. Fucking Jeff
Badass.
Bezos.
Because this week we're coming to you from the offices at Amazon.
Yeah, obviously. Where else would we be?
Or we're using the microphone that I bought on Amazon that my son picked out.
Oh, perfect.
Whatever.
Same thing.
Blah, blah. All right. Well, so before we go, I am going to tell you the things I tell you every week. If you want to write it to us, please do at itwouldseemasthought@gmail.com. And like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that when you like us, you tell some asshat who hates queer people and, you know, make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, honestly. I love it.
But I am also going to do a little plug that the weekend of Pride here, even though Pride Month is generally June, it's happening here in a week.
Okay.
No, I guess it's like a week and a half. Whatever. It's this weekend of the 15th, 16th.
Yep.
And the Pride Parade is on the 16th. That evening at CC Slaughter's is the show It's Bolivia.
Oh, right.
Starring, wait for it, Bolivia.
Weird.
My friend Bolivia Carmichaels, who's fabulous, and she asked me to do her show. Luckily, she asked me after I started healing a little bit from my show. And so I'm going to do her show, but it's also, I'm on stage for a total of like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
As opposed to an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long I was on stage. And so if you're in the hood, come see It's Bolivia at CC Slaughter's on the evening of the 16th.
Yeah.
Or go to the Pride Parade and support your local queers. And with that being said, we're out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though